All right, diving in today, we're tackling Carlos Castaneda
Oh, interesting.
and his whole deal with Don Juan Matus, that Yaqui sorcerer.
Right, right.
We're going deep on the power of silence, at least excerpts from it.
Okay.
It's, one of those books people have been fascinated by forever,
Yeah.
with its blend of anthropology and then just mysticism, the unexplainable, all that.
Yeah, and that's what makes Castaneda so interesting, right? You never really know,
I'm good.
was this real?
Exactly.
Did he actually meet this Don Juan character, or was it all, some elaborate story?
It's that mystery that makes this whole deep dive so fascinating.
It hooks you.
So, for anyone who's maybe not familiar with Castaneda, what are we even talking about here?
Well, the core idea, it's all about this concept of intent,
Okay.
and it's almost impossible to really define. Imagine, like, this force connecting everything in the universe.
Okay.
It influences everything, but you can't see it, can't touch it, not with your normal senses anyway.
So not a god, but more like
It's more like the underlying energy,
the universal operating system.
Yeah, something like that. And sorcerers, at least in Castaneda's world,
Right.
they think that by understanding this intent, they can actually kind of manipulate reality.
Rewrite the code almost.
That's the idea. They believe they can do some pretty amazing things if they master it.
Okay, so you mentioned this assemblage point earlier. Where does that fit in?
That's key to all of this.
Okay.
Think of it like, a lens. It's how we each see reality, right?
Yeah.
Sorcerers believe they can actually shift this point and change how they experience everything around them.
So like what, tuning into a different?
It's like changing the station on an old radio, but instead of music, you're getting different realities.
Whoa. So if sorcerers are tuning in, what are they even tuning into?
It's not so much about seeing things that aren't there. It's more like seeing the potential in what already is.
I don't quite.
It's about breaking free from how we normally see things, how we're conditioned to see things.
Okay, so how do you even begin to do that? To shift this assemblage point?
Well, Castaneda talks about this warrior's path.
Okay.
4 stages. He says we all start as what he calls a rusty link.
A rusty link.
Meaning our connection to intent is all messed up by just life, Our thoughts, our worries, we get so caught up in the everyday stuff, we miss the bigger picture.
We're basically sleepwalking.
Exactly.
Missing the forest for the trees. So how do we wake up from that? So how do we polish that link?
Well, that's where the real journey starts. Don Juan calls the next stage cleaning.
Cleaning.
Yeah, it's about breaking free from those ingrained habits,
Okay.
The thoughts and behaviors that keep our connection to intent all dull. He talks about stalking, not doing practices like that.
We'll get to those. But first, so cleaning, it sounds like it takes conscious effort, right?
It does.
To change how we see things.
Yeah, it's not easy. But as that connection to intent gets stronger,
Okay.
you reach the manipulation stage.
Manipulation, okay. That's where things get really wild, right?
Now you're talking. This is about actually using intent. Like you're shifting that assemblage point yourself. You start to experience different realities, different possibilities.
Give me an example from the book. Something that shows this manipulation at work.
All right, how about the monstrous man? Don Juan's just walking in the desert, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, bam, this terrifying creature like nothing you've ever imagined.
Whoa.
But it's not a hallucination. Don Juan says it was always there, just hidden, outside our normal way of seeing.
So by shifting his assemblage point.
Exactly. He could perceive this whole other layer of reality.
Okay, that's pretty intense.
Huh?
But it can't all be desert monsters, right?
Yeah.
What about, like, the practical side of manipulation?
Right, right. Well, remember Tulio?
The guy who could be in multiple places at once? Yeah, that one kind of broke my brain a little bit.
Don Juan claims this guy, totally normal on the surface,
Right.
could be in several places simultaneously.
So, like, teleportation. Did he crack the code or something?
Castaneda leaves it open-ended, But the point is, with Tulio, he's showing us how fluid reality really is. How what we perceive as fixed and solid might just be one very limited viewpoint.
Like, we're stuck with a low-res version, and these sorcerers have the high-def experience.
Something like that.
Okay, so how do we upgrade? You mentioned stalking earlier, and I'm assuming this isn't about camo gear and binoculars.
Not quite, though you do have to be observant.
Okay.
Stalking, the way Don Juan teaches it, it's about dismantling what he calls the mirror of self-reflection.
The mirror of self-reflection.
Basically, our ego, our self-importance, we have to break that down to see the world clearly.
So stalking our own minds, essentially. But how do you even do that?
Don Juan says you approach it with 4 moods: ruthlessness, cunning, patience, and sweetness.
That's quite the combo.
Right. But imagine those qualities all working together to help you navigate your own mind.
Okay, I think I'm getting it, but maybe an example would help.
Sure. Remember the story of the rude waitress?
You mean when he told that poor woman he was helping me cross over to some place of no pity? That was rough.
He was playing a role, messing with you a little.
Yeah, I got that part eventually.
But the point was to show how easily we get caught up in ourselves and our own importance, how some little thing can throw us completely off.
So learning to observe those reactions without letting them control us.
Exactly. To see the mirror of self-reflection at work without judgment, it's not easy, but the more you can observe those patterns, the less power they have over you.
So stalking is like becoming aware of those ingrained reactions, all those 3,000 heads of self-importance, right?
Yes. It's about dismantling them bit by bit. It's about freeing ourselves from the ego's grip so we can see clearly.
So cleaning and manipulation, they work together. Like as we clear away those mental cobwebs, we get closer to intent.
Exactly. It's a process. We chip away at our limitations, and that opens us up to all these amazing possibilities, things we couldn't even imagine before.
So with stalking, we create that clearer connection to intent. But what does that actually feel like? Like, how do we even know if we're on the right track?
Well, that brings us to the final stage, acceptance.
Okay.
It's about letting go of the need to control everything, to define everything. You surrender to this deeper reality, to the flow of intent.
Acceptance. It's like achieving that state of flow, right? Where you're not separate from the experience anymore. You're totally immersed in it. Don Juan talks about silent knowledge. How does that fit into acceptance?
It's about going beyond words, beyond concepts. There's a deeper knowing that exists outside of all that.
So instead of overthinking it, you just experience it.
Exactly. Don Juan said it's not about learning, it's about remembering. We peel back all that mental noise, all the conditioning, and we access this wellspring of wisdom that's already there inside us.
This is that Rumi quote, right?
Which one?
You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop.
Yes, that's it, exactly.
And not doing. That's another big practice Don Juan talks about. How does that play into this idea of silent knowledge?
Not doing is about disrupting those routines, those habits that lock us into this limited way of seeing things. He gives a bunch of examples in the book, 21 of them actually.
Right.
But it's not about following a list.
Okay.
It's about understanding the principle, shaking yourself out of the everyday trance.
Give me an example. What's a not doing that really stuck with you?
How about looking at the world with your eyes crossed?
Wait, really?
Sounds strange, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But try it sometime. You'll notice how things look different, how your perception shifts just by making that one little change.
Like hitting the reset button on your brain.
Yeah.
You're reminded that things aren't as fixed and solid as we think they are.
Exactly. That's what Don Juan was all about. Challenging our assumptions, making us question everything.
He really knew how to shake things up.
He did.
And that's really what we've tried to do here in this deep dive into Castaneda.
To get people thinking.
To push the listener to question their own perception, to see if there's more to reality than meets the eye. Maybe even to find a little bit of that sorcerer's magic within themselves.
We all have that potential, that's the thing.
So that's it for our deep dive on Castaneda's The Power of Silence. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring.